You're listening to the Dynamic Thinking Project podcast. This is episode 69, and today's topic is time travel. Hey everyone, Adam Musalli here. Welcome to the Dynamic Thinking Project podcast. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. This podcast is released every Friday, and show notes are found at the website, themindtechinstitute.com. It's all one word. Come back often and feel free to add this podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow me on Twitter and Facebook. All links are in the show notes and website. And now, let's get started. This is one of the most interesting topics probably ever to everyone, because who doesn't wish to go back in the past and fix some mistakes and or maybe missed opportunities someone didn't take, or maybe time travel into the future out of curiosity, and for some people just to see the winning lottery numbers. But of course, we're talking about time travel and physical time travel, not just when you're asleep or just memories, because when you're asleep and dreaming, you sort of time traveling. When you listen to Mozart, you're time traveling, as that music was composed around 250 years ago. Even watching movies and looking at old pictures, you're also time traveling in your mind, time traveling back to the time and place you took those pictures. And let's not forget the time zone of each country, the time differences. For example, there's around 15 hours difference between Sydney and New York. So we're not talking about this mind nostalgia or memory time travel. We're talking about physical, multidimensional time travel. Although every time I think of time travel, the first thought comes in my mind is paradoxes. And that's not something should be taken lightly. Anyway, let's get into the specifics right after we get the intro out of the way. If you're interested in learning and becoming a fully qualified hypnotherapist, neuro-linguistic programming NLP practitioner and master practitioner, a life coach or a counselor, now you can study all that totally online. All you need to do is visit mti.edu.au or themindtechinstitute.com, and you'll find all these courses along with many other courses. Once you click on the online courses tab, all our diplomas and advanced diplomas are accredited and recognized worldwide. And for more information, all can be found online, themindtechinstitute.com. Going back to time travel, I hope we won't have to do part 2 next week. However, since time travel and parallel universe topics are sort of related, we'll do a whole episode about parallel universes maybe next week, and another episode about some people who claim they are time travelers, such as John Titor or John Titor, Andrew Bishago, and others. So this episode isn't about time travel cases, but it's about time travel itself, what it is, and if it's possible, and of course the challenges. Keep in mind, I am not a quantum or theoretical physicist. My field is in social and behavioral science, but I've done tons of research about this topic and always been an interest to me, and I'm sure to many others too. So, am I able to cover everything about time travel in this episode? Of course not. But, and as usual, I like to read your emails and comments about what you think. And yes, all podcast emails will be directed to me, and I read them personally. Now, first and before we dive into time travel, let's understand time. While most people think of time as linear or constant line, Albert Einstein showed that time is an illusion. It is relative. It can vary for different observers depending on your speed through space. So, to Einstein, time is the fourth dimension. Space described as the third or three-dimensional arena, which provides a traveler with coordinates such as length, width, and height. Time provides another coordinate, which is direction. Most physicists think that time is a subjective illusion. But what if time is real? Einstein's theory of special relativity says that time slows down or speeds up depending on how fast you move relative to something else. So, approaching the speed of light, a person inside a spaceship would age much slower than his twin at home here on Earth. Also, under Einstein's theory of general relativity, gravity can bend time. Just to make it simpler to understand, and as most physicists explain it, picture or imagine a four-dimensional fabric called space-time. When anything that has mass sits on that piece of fabric, it causes a dimple or bending of space-time. The bending of space-time causes objects to move on a curved path, and that curvature of space is what we know as gravity. Now, both the general and special relativity theories have been proven with GPS satellites technology that has very accurate timepieces on board. The effect of gravity as well as the satellite's increased space above the Earth relative to observers on the ground make the unadjusted clocks gain 38 microseconds a day. But engineers make calibrations to account for the difference, so you don't need to worry about that. So, in a sense, this effect called time dilation means astronauts are time travelers. As they return to Earth, very, very slightly younger than their identical twins that remain on Earth or on the planet. And, astronauts are not very far actually in space. I mean, they are, but let's say an astronaut goes to the International Space Station, the ISS. How far the ISS from Earth? I think it's around 400 kilometers. And 400 kilometers is relatively close in space. I mean, even here on Earth is not a far distance, 400 kilometers. If you were to drive at, let's say, 100 kilometers per hour, that's around probably 60 miles per hour, I think. It would take you less than 4 hours to cover 400 kilometers. The point is, astronauts in space at only 400 or around 400 kilometers away from Earth are considered as time travelers. Now, could time travel be possible? Well, it is fascinating to go back in time and for me maybe to see the birth of the universe or meet my great grandparents. But what could possibly go wrong? I mean, could I travel to a previous era to correct something, make a different decision, or even completely alter the course of history? Is it even possible? You see, there are a lot of questions about travel into the past, but not very many solutions. The best answer science can give us right now is it is theoretically possible, but no one yet has done it. And I love to say yet. Maybe someone soon would do it. So how about time traveling into the past? It turns out that people time travel all the time. but only in one direction, from the past to the present and moving into the future. Unfortunately, no one has any control over how quickly that time passes, and nobody can stop time and continue to live. So it means that time is one-way street, always moving forward. And this actually makes sense. It also fits with Einstein's theory of relativity, because time only flows in one direction, which is forward. If time flowed the other way, people would remember the future instead of the past. That sounds very counterintuitive. So, on the face of it, traveling into the past seems to be a violation of the laws of physics. But not so fast. It turns out that there are theoretical considerations to take into account if somebody wants to build a time machine that goes back to the past. And they involve exotic gateways called wormholes, or some science fictional sounding creation of gateways using a technology not yet available to science, unless we're talking about CERN, but this topic is for another day. Let's leave it for another episode. Another possibility is using black holes or wormholes. And just a brief about them. A black hole is an object so compact that nothing can escape its gravitational pull. Not even light. On Earth, an object needs to be launched with a speed of 11 kilometers per second if it's possible to escape the planet's gravity and go into orbit. But the escape velocity of a black hole exceeds the speed of light. Since nothing can travel faster than this ultimate speed, black hole sucks in everything including light, which makes them utterly dark and invisible. The closer to the hole the material gets, the more and more of its light is captured, which is why the hole grows darker towards its center. So could black holes be trans-dimensional gateways to other time and places? Theoretically, maybe, but surviving the trip would be a problem. The idea of building a time machine like those often depicted in science fiction movies is likely just a fantasy. Unlike the traveler in H.G. Wells' time machine, no one has figured out how to build a special vehicle that goes from now to yesterday. However, astrophysics gives us one possible pathway. One could possibly harness the power of a black hole to venture through time and space. How would that work? Well, according to general relativity, a rotating black hole could create a wormhole, a theoretical link between 2 points of space and time, or perhaps even 2 points in different universes. However, there is a problem with black holes. They have long been thought to be unstable and therefore untraversable. However, recent advances in physics theory have shown that these constructs cloud, in fact, provide a means of traveling through time. But unfortunately, we have almost no idea what to do except by doing so. Theoretical physics is still trying to predict what would happen inside the wormhole, assuming one could even approach such a place and survive, but there is no current engineering solution that would allow us to build a craft that would let to make such a trip safely. So right now, and as it stands, once a ship enters the black hole, It's going to get crushed by incredible gravity. The ship and everyone aboard are made one with the singularity at the heart of the black hole. And also other things to consider, alternate realities. The idea of traveling into the past raises all sorts of paradoxes and issues. For instance, what happens if a person goes back in the past and kills their parents before they can conceive their child? Lots of dramatic stories have been built around that scenario. Or the idea that someone could go back in the past and kill a dictator and change history, or save the life of a famous person. And here when paradoxes happen. So let's say if that happens, then a time traveler effectively would create an alternate reality or parallel universe. So if someone did travel back in the past and prevent someone else's birth, or murdered someone, a younger version of the victim would never come to be in that reality, and it might or might not carry on as if nothing had changed. By going back in the past, the traveler creates a new reality and would never be able to return to the reality they once knew. If they then try to travel into the future from there, they would see the future of the new reality, not the one they knew before. And if you have read John Titor's posts back in 2000, we'll do a whole episode about that. He also said something very similar. He said if you travel back in the past, or if you time travel and you want to go back to your reality, you cannot go back to your same reality because you created a paradox or an alternate reality. So there is no way back. And also, I often think about this. The biggest problem with time travel is that nothing is stationary. As the moon revolves the earth around the sun, and the sun around the Milky Way, and the Milky Way travels at a speed of 600 kilometers per second, and per miles that would be around 1.34 million miles per hour through the universe. Therefore, time travel isn't just moving through time, but also distance or space. If you were to travel back in time, let's say 100 years, to the exact same position you are in right now, the Earth would not have arrived yet. It would still be millions of kilometers away. So not only would we need to figure out how to travel in time, but also where everything would be relative to that time period, and how to distance that gap via some type of maybe wormhole. Then you have the relative motion of being here on Earth to whatever time period you travel back to. If you don't match up precisely with the rotation of Earth, your relative speed could be different by thousands of kilometers per hour, and simply causing you to instantly disintegrate on impact, or simply burn up in the dense air. However, since not only Earth but all the solar system and Milky Way travel at an incredible speed through the universe, I believe that coming back 100 years to the exact same spot we are now would make one find himself in the void of our galaxy, not only outside the Earth but also the whole system. A hypothetical time machine would need very precise computer to calculate where exactly the planet was at that date. Now, the only solution is to set a year and bring you back to that exact time and day in a certain year. Although it would require very precise timing to to be in the exact place that you started from. So, is time travel to the past really possible? Possible, yes, theoretically. Probable? I don't think so. At least not with our current technology and understanding of physics. But perhaps someday we'll all stop wars and fighting and focus on peaceful science that can serve humanity as a whole. Not just the elites, but until that time travel could stay just a theory and some science fiction movies. But personally speaking, I don't know. Maybe this technology does exist and maybe we, the public, don't know about it. So I think we shouldn't reject any idea we don't fully know about, especially because we all know that the technology some governments have is at least 30 to 40 years ahead of us. And at the end of the day, we're not quantum physicists nor quantum mechanics with a high CERN clearance. So let's just keep an open mind. I mean, the things 30 years ago sounded absurd, now are available in every person's house, such as Wi-Fi. So let's keep an open mind because we really need it for the next few episodes. There are some mind-blowing stuff coming, especially when we start talking about parallel universes, we start talking about CERN and other similar topics. I think we have passed our runtime, but at least we don't have to do part 2 for this episode next week. And I think we can end it at this for now, and next week would be another topic. Maybe it would be parallel universes. And once again, if you would like to study and become a fully qualified hypnotherapist, neurolinguistic programming NLP practitioner and master practitioner, a life coach or a counselor, now you can study all that totally online. All you have to do is visit mti.edu.au or themindtechinstitute.com and you'll find all these courses along with many other courses once you click on the online courses tab. All our diplomas and advanced diplomas are accredited and recognized worldwide, and for more information all can be found online, themindtechinstitute.com. That's it for today. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, as usual, you can email me. The email is on our website, themindtechinstitute.com. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, especially if you are listening to this podcast on YouTube. The Dynamic Thinking Project podcast is released every Friday. Until next time, take care and enjoy your weekend. This is Aram Muselli, signing out.